right, we are back. Another edition, a return to grace, if you will, for Deep Space Nine at 7:30ish. Yes, I am your host, Jeff, Not Logical Mater, tonight, coming to you live with my brother Dave Mater. We also have co-host Jaemeel Robinson, Davan Skelhorn, and Bajoran workers Kevin and Ashley Millard. How are you guys? It's been a while. It's been a minute.
How was Ryza?
It was good. It was Ryza. It was nice. We did some dancing. We did some boogaloo. We did some Jamaharon. We did some wakeboarding. We did all that. But we're back here on the station, ready to talk about the Cardassians, the Bajorans, and the Klingons. Here in this episode, Season 4, Episode 14, Return to Grace. It's all about Kira and Dukat, guys. And we're going to bring
back.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I think it's maybe someone that might be the Millard's speaker, but that's okay. We're here to talk about Kira and Dukat mostly, and their relationship, a little bit of Zial, and kind of break down what's going on in this mission where they go on a revenge plot, which is always a good concept for an episode. Dave, first thoughts on this episode. What comes to mind? What do you like? What do you dislike? Does this episode stand out?
It doesn't necessarily stand out, but it is important. It's really about these two characters, Kira and Dukat. It's another part of their ongoing story, of the ongoing saga of the Gul Dukat character as sort of like this weirdly sympathetic villain. He's in this very strange place in this show where, Kira is very honest with him. It's like, I really don't trust you. I really don't like you. Every time I look at you, I can't help but remember you're a murderer. But, I care about Zial and so therefore I see some of the good aspects in you, at least at this time. But Jeff, the foreshadowing here, he says everything he's lost, he will regain.
Everything I have lost, I will regain.
Well, that's the thing about mass murderers. They're often charming, manipulative, and have a lot of charisma and are able even to win over the people that they oppressed. Jaemeel, is Dukat stand out in this way where you kind of come around on him in any way? Is anything stand out where you go, yeah, he has a point? Especially in his conversations, I find when he's talking to Kira about Shakar, which I missed last week's episode.
You didn't miss much.
What, Crossfire, that Deep Space Nine classic?
What a terrible name for such a know-nothing episode. Crossfire. Yeah. There was no crossing or fire. One thing that you see in this episode is how there is so much chemistry between Kira and Dukat in comparison to Shakar and Kira. Right? Oh my gosh, he is a wet blanket. And there's tingling when Dukat and Kira are talking to each other, where they're verbally jousting with each other. Such a great play between the two of them. It's great. Of course, yes. Dukat is a charismatic individual, and even with the poison he's giving you, he's serving you, it still goes down very smooth.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'll watch. I know very rarely do we get a 60-minute or 40 whatever minute episode of like almost pure Dukat. Like there's lots of episodes that feature him heavily and stuff, but there's always other characters and there's always kind of ins and outs. This episode, he is the star of this episode. I mean, yes, it's a Kira episode, I guess, but not to me. It's a Dukat episode. Kevin and Ashley, we'll go to you next. Is that how you feel about this episode? Do you feel like this is really showcasing Mark Alaimo and all his charisma?
Yeah, of course it is. You're right. This is a Dukat episode, and I love it. I love any episode him and Kira do together that focuses on their relationship. I think it's always great.
Okay, Ashley?
Yeah, I mean, I love him, and I love the two of them together. charismatic, yes, but he also doesn't listen to her and is a gaslighting asshole.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
But I love him. Like, he is the best villain. I absolutely love him. But watching it, you're like, yikes.
Okay, and new here to Deep Space Nine at 9ish, we have Gul Davan, the host of Locutors of Trek, co-host. Davan.
Promotion came in.
He's Leggett Davan now.
You're Leggett.
I stole a Klingon bird of prey.
You will be back on that Datapa Council before you know it.
You don't be crazy.
I want to speak to the head of the Datapa Council himself. But anyway, I got to say, before I say anything, I do love every scene Mark Alimo and Gul Dukat is in. But having said that, Gul Dukat is pure slippery grease. Just putting him and Kira in the same scene together makes me feel gross. I don't know what to tell you. It just gets worse. Gul Dukat's the worst, but there's like, I never feel that like twinge of sympathy or understanding or anything for Gul Dukat ever. He's 100% pure, slippery, slimy grease. And worse.
Show a little respect.
Gul Dukat.
Yeah. Show a
But
little
he plays it so
spectacle.
well.
Yeah.
He plays it so well.
He does, and okay, the reason why I kind of bring up like the I think you with a good villain, you have to not only like understand them, but also kind of be somewhat sympathetic toward their way of thinking. Maybe not who they are or what they represent, but toward their way of thinking, which is sometimes an awful way of thinking, or it's very power centric, but at least it. Like his character makes sense to me. Like he's kind of like a maneuvering politician. He's a lot like you could say like Kevin Spacey in House of Cards. You know, like you kind of come around and be like, oh, okay. You know, oh, I see where you're going with this. Dave,
Kai Wynn.
Or Kai Wynn. Yeah.
Kai Wynn. Yeah. Wholesome characters like Frank Cross or
I didn't say they were wholesome.
Kai Wynn, yes. Yeah. No, I think it tracks. You know, I think like back then when I watched it the first time, I thought, well, maybe there's a chance that this Gul Dukat can be changed and he can have a redemption here and he can change, right? You know, like through the power of good, through osmosis, learning through his daughter here, because, you know, we're getting, this is a kind of a sequel to the episode that came up earlier this season, Indiscretion, which also had paired these two together, where he had to make this like, he's like, yeah, I have to find my daughter. And yeah, I loved this Bajoran woman, Torin Aprem, but I got to kill the daughter now because I got all these other kids and my whole family and my life and blah, blah, blah. And so this episode is kind of really like him, like dealing with the aftermath of that and say like, my mother disowned me and my wife left me with all the kids. And now I'm running a freighter. I've fallen from grace, and this whole episode aptly named is like him trying to get back to where he, you know, as soon as he sees this opportunity to sort of impress the higher ups, he's like, I can get my job back, I can get everything back that I've lost. But I guess it doesn't fully start off that way. It does start off that he wants to get these Klingons back for hurting, you know, fellow Cardassians, for murder, you know, and the Bajorans too. He's sort of into that, but
yeah, he's willing to go what Kira calls a suicide mission to prove a point, basically, that these Klingons aren't going to get away with this. I can't just let them run away and not at least get shot at. You know, I don't care if I do die. He is at his core a very like, as much as he's a maneuverer and he wants power for himself, he's also like a lot of Cardassians, like Garak. He's very proud to be a Cardassian. Jaemeel, does that track?
He is. It absolutely tracks. I don't think he cares about getting back at the Klingons. The Klingons are just a tool to climb up that ladder again, and he's absolutely jumping on it. If he actually cared about Cardassian people, like he would have maneuvered a lot differently. He was out there because he had a point to make, and that point was to get him to where he wanted to be, not necessarily about killing Klingons. And if he was able to get back to his position without killing a single person, he would have done it. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about people enough to to do that.
Cardassia will be made whole.
Well, you can also tell that this is just his naked ambition, because he starts going on about what he's going to do to Gul Maret when he gets his position back. He's not thinking about the Klingons or Cardassia at all.
No, he's thinking about the individual relationships that he has. That's why he's also so able to compartmentalize, like murdering millions of Bajorans, or when he has that conversation with Kira in this episode where he talks about, hey, thanks for stopping me from murdering Zial. Like, just the way he says that, like, it's so matter of fact. Like, yes, I understand what you're saying, Davan, that he has this side where you just go, yeah, he's a villain and he's a one-note villain, but I think he's more complex than just that. I think there's more to him. I think he does love certain things that aren't him. I don't think he's like 100% a narcissist. He's 99%.
We'd have to do the math on that, but to preview the next episode of Locutors of Trek coming out in a day or two, it's about Garrick, but in doing so we touched on Gul Dukat and the history of Dukat's father as well. And what it made me realize in reading the Garrick novel, which is, I guess, considered alpha canon, one of the few novels that is.
No, be careful about what you say about canon.
I say it is.
His father and himself actually do love Cardassia, but they also really, really hate the Federation and Cardassians. His father was the leading voice against any peaceful involvement with the Federation and the Klingons. And in what we see, he kind of shares that. So I'm not so sure that he wouldn't kill the Klingons. Like, that's why he does that. Like, there was never a question in his mind if he got a chance to kill all those Klingons, he was going to do it. I don't think. Yeah, Dukats aren't great.
Well, yeah, I don't imagine the apple falls far from the tree in the question of Dukat, but it does fall far from the tree when you talk about Zial, who's definitely featured heavily in this episode. Kevin and Ashley, what do you make of the Zial relationship here? Do you think that this is the start of her going more toward like Kira's line of thinking, more of her Bajoran sensibilities, and kind of seeing her father for who he is, or is she still manipulated and has a blind eye for Dukat's manipulations?
Well, I don't think she ever really sees him for who he is. She's already a lot more like Kira than like Dukat, just naturally. But she wants to help him. She wants to be a good daughter, but you can tell she's not. She doesn't have that same fire.
Okay, but you say she's more like Kira, but Kira has a lot of fire in her. Like, there's the whole scene in this episode, Ashley, where Kira and Zial are talking about their weapons and like, how do you know so much about Cardassian weapons? And they're talking about Kira's like, she says to Kira that you and my father are more alike. That's what he says anyway. Then you realize, and Kira quickly stomps that and says, what your father wants is forgiveness, and that's something I can never give him. What did you make of that scene, Ashley?
I mean, I think, I don't know, like Kira, I don't find Kira and Dukat similar, and I think that's just something he was saying to Zial. Like, I think she is trying to, she really likes Kira, and I think she's trying to have Kira in her life more, and is trying to warm Kira up to her father so that maybe Kira will be around more if she can get Kira to forgive her father, or to at least form some sort of friendship or something. Yeah.
Well, Ziel does that thing here in this episode where she kind of says, Dave, that he is upset about it, and Kira questions that. She goes, is he really upset about it? He talks about it sometimes, but she does that like excuse for him. Oh, but he doesn't talk about it a lot because it's too painful. Is that just her kind of putting the wool over her own head, or is that Dukat being a master manipulator? What do you think?
I think it's her pulling the wool over her own eyes. I think that Zial has this blind spot for him. She wants this redemption for him. I think she represents a good chunk of the audience for a lot of this, because I think the fact that the Gul Dukat was like this, and still is, a very popular character with the fans. But back in like the 90s, when this was on the first run, it was like they talk about how Dukat was so much more popular and Garrick was sort of like not. And now, like 20 something years later, it's quite the opposite, where Garrick is looked at as the much more favorable character, and Dukat is seen kind of for the villain that he is, And I think when we were going through it in real time, we're like, well, yeah, he was the prefect of the occupation. He did all these things, but he's also been an ally to them at certain times. He's been, and Star Trek is a show and a franchise that loves to make friends with its old enemies, hence the Klingons and other adversaries. Even the Borg have become friends to the Starfleet at times. And so I think that we're kind of, there's part of that the fans that wanted to see that. But if you've seen all of Deep Space Nine, I don't think you can really think that about Gul Dukat as a finale, because he within a season of this he'll have his big turn, and he'll just add to the pile. He'll just dig himself further and further into the hole until there's no redemption for Gul Dukat.
He's only really their ally when it serves his purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
It's alliance of convenience.
Sometimes it's like he's just doing his job, though. Like sometimes, like it's just like, oh yeah, like I'm the guy for Cardassia. Cisco, you need to find these ships, and Cardassia needs to find this, so I'll help you do it. But yeah, you're right. He is serving a purpose by doing that, because he's getting closer with Cisco or the Federation, and so he could use that to an advantage down the road. He's very, very calculated. Mm-hmm. Jaemeel, I was going to ask you about the Dukat Kira, and whenever they seem to work together, they seem to do a good job. They seem to really be very innovative, very creative, and always kind of put good plans together and kind of check each other as far as when it's strictly business, as mentioned in this episode. Do you think if they didn't have all this personal baggage, like mass murder, do you think that they would make a good like bridge crew team?
So both of them are military minded individuals who have great instincts, and so of course you put two tactical minds on the same bridge crew, stuff's gonna happen, right? So of course, there's going to be a quality of there's an upgrade in terms of Damar and Dukat and Kira, but at the same time, their agendas don't align. So anytime a conflict's going to happen, they're not going to be on the same page, and eventually there's going to be a situation that occurs where there's going to be a disagreement that they can't get past. So no, they cannot be a quality bridge crew together. I'm not even talking about personal relationship business. I'm talking about making a decision to do a plan of action. Kira isn't the scrappy individual who's living day to day trying to survive and doing what she needs to do, right? She's past that point. And at the same time, I don't think either version of Kira would be able to work with Dukat and his agenda, because they'll see through it, and eventually there's going to be a situation where they can't get past it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. Davan, we'll go to you on this next question.
He's chomping at the bit.
He's chomping at the bit. He's ready to get in here. What do you think of Ducat's his little jabs at Kira throughout this episode, where he says, "I like your friend Shakar. He was quite the ladies' man. He would."
We had quite the file on his conquest, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Elaborate on what he's doing here
okay.
and why he's doing it.
Honestly, I don't know what his plan is with her in this episode. I mean, he's basically negging her at first. But when he gives her that big speech about how she needs to join him because in her heart she really wants to, even though everything in her head is telling her no, he's like, but there's probably like some tiny little yes in there somewhere amongst all that sea of no, and follow that, listen to that yes. You know, but like she's just stunned by all this bullshit he's saying. And
Yes.
I think like she's acting where you could take it as in like she's kind of taken aback by how profound his words are, but I think she's actually stunned by how idiotic it all is. And then another guy comes in and interrupts before she can respond. But I think she was about to be like, "What are you even talking about?" Like, yeah, I don't know what his plan was with her.
Behave rationally.
I think he just likes to feel superior in a lot of ways with Kira. It just comes from a place of, what, you think the Shakar is so great? He sucks. And we just talked about how much he does suck. And we'd much rather watch this episode than watch her with Shakar. Kevin, you were nodding your head. How much does Shakar suck and how much better is Ducat?
I don't know if Ducat is better. He's better for the show.
Yes, right.
Shakar sucks.
Shakar
That's for
sucks.
sure. I don't even know how to say it any more plain than that.
Beverly.
Yeah, he sucks as Ronan too.
He's ghost fucker.
I like though, because Kira always gives it right back to Ducat. Like when he's going on about Shakar and how much he was a ladies' man, and we had quite the file. And she says, "Well, if that's the records you were keeping, no wonder you lost." Like I love when she says stuff like that, or when he at the end he's like, "Did you even consider it?" And she was like, "No."
No.
You know that's his game at a club. What you saw there was his game at a club. He's like,
Yeah, he
in
starts
your
with the
head-
negging.
He's like, in your head, you're just saying no, 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 but don't listen to it. Listen to the yes in the background.
Yeah, it's like
And then
listen to that
Then he
devil.
slips something in the drink. Just walk away from this dude. This dude
Go-
is bad news.
Think Gul Dukat would be a dape raper?
What? Of course. Look at
Yeah,
that man.
that's-
I think he would be. I don't know. I don't know if his ego would allow him to date rape somebody. The reason why I say that is because he gets off on like manipulation more. I don't know, more than anything. That's what I find with him. Kevin,
It's hard to get
He'd be
to.
more of a stalker.
yeah,
Like he was nagging her, and then he was hitting on her, and she said, "Don't do that." And then he gaslit her and was like, "Oh, you misunderstand me. That's not what I was doing." And then she
Right.
went off and talked to someone else, and then she came back, and what is he doing? Hitting on her again and being creepy after she said no.
No,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah, and-
sorry. I get vibes that this dude, as a last resort, would totally drug her, and then the next day go, oh, I was drunk too. We must
Right.
have been drunk together.
Or-
Some
Yeah,
elaborate
or-
play.
Or the next day, be like,
By
"I
no,
don't know
meant
what you're
that
talking
tiny
about."
microscopic yes, remember?
I don't know if he's the Bill Cosby of Star Trek. I don't know if I would go that far.
Oh, Kira!
Oh,
It was the pudding, I swear. Oh.
It was the yammick sauce. I don't know.
It was the yammick sauce. Kids today don't know about the yammick sauce.
It
Jake,
definitely would have been.
I don't think you could put anything
having-
past him though.
Chico.
Having Bajoran sex slaves is a pretty blunt instrument.
Yeah, like normally I don't think that Ducat has to resort. I think he just likes a hard to get person. I think the whole thing about him saying everything I've lost I will regain could also like the fact that he had a relationship with Kira's mother, Kira Maru, and that he lost that.
Yeah, I hate
guess.
that. The worst episode.
Well, it's better than making them a formal relationship, at least, which is what they were going to do.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I think that's part of the obsession with Kira. It's sort of a retroactive writing thing, and that anybody who turns him down, he's just like, "Ooh, you want to turn me down? Me, Gul Dukat?"
Right, and so then he must make it his mission to make that person's life insufferable.
Major.
Oh, I think I have the perfect analogy. He is the Pepe Le Pew of Star Trek.
Yes.
Yes.
He might be the Pepe Le Pew.
Oh, you're resisting. Oh, you are just a frisky little Brajore. Like, yeah, that's Gul Dukat.
Yeah, because we never got to see his real wife, Gul Dukat. So we don't know what her story was or what their relationship was, but presumably it wasn't that strong. And then, but when he was at the grave for Torin Naprem, Zial's mother, he seemed really broken up about it. As much as Gul Dukat can get broken up about anything. It's the closest we ever saw to him being really like saddened by something,
Was that an act?
Like a child losing a
Yes.
toy.
Maybe not, but at that point he was still planning on murdering his daughter.
True.
Right. Right.
So how broken up could he be?
Yeah.
Right.
Not at
Yeah.
all. Everything
Yeah,
he
it's-
does in front of Kira is an act.
Yeah.
But that's the closest we ever saw him to him loving somebody else, really. I guess Zial is the other example, because he does seem to legitimately care about Zial.
When Zial, spoiler alert, but yeah, she gets murdered by Damar.
Who showed her fun knife tricks.
Right.
He also disowned her like 4 times, just over like anything. You're staying on the station this weekend? You are not my daughter.
Yeah. It's for my son and all my sons, not the daughters.
Yes. Yeah. No, just all our sons.
Yes, but when Zial is murdered, that is the only time I find where Dukat actually shows true empathetic emotion for anyone other than himself, and it's still for himself because he lost his daughter,
Right.
the one he spared. It's still him. You could argue that, but in some way, I do think he is upset that I think that was the turning, but that's what made him go full heel. He was already like 2 fulls, but he went nutso after that, and then so that's when he went with the paw race, and then we get toward the end game. But so this kind of sets up a lot of that, Dave.
Yeah.
Do you feel that it does a good job here, because sometimes in some ways I do feel that Dukat's empathy comes out of nowhere, because he is shown as such a manipulator, he is shown as such a calculated guy, but then he does care about Zial, but not really anybody else.
Nope. Yeah, and looking back on it, I was way too sympathetic to him in the first run, in the first version, my first viewing of this story 20 years ago. Looking back at here, he's clearly a bad guy. He's written so much like a bad guy. He has his redemption is not there. It never was. I wanted to see it maybe at the time, and so I think looking back on it, I'm it's really smart though how they set it up, because I think that the whole thing with Kira and Zial, and the fact that that was maybe his path to redemption, that seemingly was there. Like I said, Star Trek loves to take the who yesterday's bad guy and make them tomorrow's good guy, or at least your ally for tomorrow, or whatever. So you thought maybe that's where it was headed, but nope. He's gonna pull them into the Dominion and start one of the most massive wars of all time.
Yeah, we have a comment here from Jeremy. He says, Gul Dukat has a messiah complex. He's constantly annoyed that people don't recognize his greatness. Kind of sounds like a president that we used to see south of the border. But he also says, pudding with a chloroform twist.
That was
Pudding with the chloroform twist.
that would be yamak pudding, maybe.
Yamak pudding. Sounds gross. Cardassians hate the cold, though, so don't serve it chilled. Davan, a little bit on this kind of here at the end where Kira's talking to Zial about how you need to learn to hate. That's what you're gonna, more than you hated the Breen. You're gonna have to learn to hate the Klingons, and do you want that for yourself, and all that kind of stuff that she's
That's
asking.
what they do in his family.
That's right.
That's what they do in his family. They hate Klingons. They think Klingons in the Federation. Well, they basically think the Federation is a disease, and as soon as you're infected by the Federation disease, you basically need to be cut off like a diseased limb.
It's like root beer.
And they, yeah, it's like root beer, quite insidious. And the Klingons are just their dogs, basically. So that's what they do. They hate on the Klingons. They hate on the Federation. Ziyal 1, I think this is the last time we get to see Ziyal 1. Probably my second favorite Ziyal.
It's
I don't know
true.
about you guys. If you guys
There's
know
three,
the
but
Ziyal
the second one
hierarchy,
is only
I
in
know
one
how to.
episode.
I think there's an argument
only
to
one?
speak. There's an argument, maybe a fan theory, that Ziyal is actually a changeling.
That would explain the rapid aging.
It would, and the looks that change, from episode to episode. Or maybe a what's Wiyun's race?
Vorta.
A Vorta, a version of a Vorta, where they just keep bringing back Ziyal and slightly different. Okay. Okay. Anything kind of standing out here for you guys as far as Dukat, Kira, and their relationship kind of moving forward? Like, what else does this set up, Dave, for you?
This man.
Restraining
Casey
orders,
Biggs.
sorry.
Damar.
Damar. Okay, well, yeah, because all these characters are very interlinked later on with, Damar killing Ziyal.
This is his first appearance. He's nothing more than he was like the first officer of some boring freighter. And because he was right time, right place, he got to like be by Dukat's side. And then he got to become the eventual leader of the Cardassian government, and then the Cardassian resistance against the Dominion, and all these other things, right?
What does that say about Dukat? Does he did we've never really seen him have a right hand man? Like, does nobody like him? That would make sense.
No one likes him.
Right.
Even Damar kills his daughter.
Yeah.
Damar barely likes him.
Damar grows to hate him too.
Yeah.
Cardassian
But
society is very hierarchical.
Casey
sort of
Biggs was,
Listen to people above you.
I believe, at the time married to Roxanne Dawson, who was B'Elanna Torres herself. That was the Roxanne Dawson Biggs of it all, if you will. Although they are no longer together, as far as I understand. Where can I find my B'Elanna?
I guess someone's forehead ridges had to win out, and Damar's took the cake.
Damar's first name is Korat.
No. What's Dukat's first name?
Scrain.
Scrain.
It's not canon though.
Yeah.
It
totally is.
We don't want to go there. Here on 269-ish, Davan, we've had multiple conversations about the canon. We all know where everyone stands. Dave,
I'll die on this hill.
Dave has it as Bible, but it's only TV shows.
I would love to accept them as canon, but it's not accepted.
Jaemeel says it doesn't matter.
This
Doesn't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter, but it
Doesn't matter.
Everyone tune into the next episode of Locutors of Trek and then decide for yourself.
Jeff,
Yes.
did you enjoy the wonderful job the writers did in inserting Worf into the lives of Deep Space Nine in this episode?
He's literally at the beginning, isn't he? And then he kind of like says like, "Hey,
report.
he's like, Kira, how's it going? Okay, all right, give me that pad." And then Bashir's gonna do his thing, and
This was the most awkward conversation from Worf. He's like, "Can I talk to you? Okay, so we've shared some military stuff with the Bajorans and with the Klingons, but never with the Cardassians. So we don't kind of want them to know that. Can you not?"
I just want you guys to watch Kira's run here at the end of this little thing. Watch her go.
She almost lost it. I love it.
Which I always thought was pretty funny. Anyway,
She wiped out
Grace.
on an attempt. I
Sure.
bet there's a deleted scene where she just totally wiped out.
yeah, that was the best take. They
She's a
did
dancer.
3.
Dancers don't wipe out.
just Bashir, I'm glad I'm not going to Cardassia. Yeah, you bet.
See you next episode.
See you next episode, Bashir. There's no James Bond holodeck episode for you.
Worf's, I'm sure they won't. When she's like, the Cardassia happy about this list. She's, oh, I'm sure they won't. It's like his delivery on that.
Oh, and then Bashir also gives us a tip. He says the vaccines are beginning to work. So, little foreshadowing for 2021. Okay.
You don't see melon spots?
Yeah, I see melons all through the air, Jeff. That's how you know it's working.
That's how you know.
They must have cured 5G by then. Or whatever.
Should we talk a little bit about the end of the episode where they bring the bird of prey home here to the station?
I love how shields don't immediately go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Siska's like, what do they want?
Especially a bird of prey. Even after they figure out it's Dukat, they should still put the shields up.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah, you can cloak.
Yeah, I kind of Cisco just kind of like stares and he's very calm. He's just like, all right, okay, I'm gonna go watch a baseball game or something. I'm good.
He's just like, I'm barely in this episode. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm not directing it. I mean, yeah, this isn't for me. Okay. I don't know what else to go here on this episode. It's not an overly like earth-shattering episode. It's not an overly memorable episode, but it is important and it's worth talking about.
What did you think of the old switcheroo? The old ship switcheroo.
Right, the old switch shipperoo. Okay, well, let's ask you, Deb. What did you make of the old ship switcheroo?
That's a pretty good trick, actually. I thought the first part of that is really ballsy, where you're just like, okay, how are they going to make this work? And all of a sudden, just like Kira and Dukat beam over and just start kicking the crap out of Klingons. That was like the first start of their plan. He's like, we need a good plan, and that's what they do.
It should have been Dukat getting his ass whipped, though.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of Klingons just kicking his ass.
But Kira still accomplishes the mission, but he just gets,
Kira just waits a bit, and then she's like, I guess.
They totally stole this move from Kirk, right? From Star Trek 3.
Yeah. It was very familiar.
Well, hating Klingons, you got to go from the book of Kirk, man.
And like, and Dukat and Kirk have very much in common where, in Kirk's instance, they killed my boy.
You mean,
and then
don't believe him. Don't trust him.
Don't trust him. And then
I don't know if
Dukat,
I would compare Kirk to Dukat, though.
Oh, I think you can. I think it's. I mean, both shows are, kind of like Dukat's wants to be the center of the stage, and Kirk just abandoned it.
Well, maybe Dukat and William Shatner, but
right, yeah. Well, that was kind of where I was going. That was, maybe not Kirk,
unless it's Mirror Kirk.
Yeah, it was a pretty good guy. It's Mirror Spock you got to watch out for.
Jeff, do you agree that for a race of warriors, these Klingons get beat up easily?
Yeah, I love that the Klingons are the greatest warriors, and yet every time they go up against a Bajoran, a Cardassian, or a human, they lose.
Every time.
Well, remember, these are the garbage warriors who are like hitting outposts, right? Like undermanned outposts looking for glory. Come on. Like,
I think
look at this guy.
Klingons.
I don't know. I think for the most part, Klingons are not that great at combat. I think we see a lot of them, like it's like pretty much the people who are captains or like war for of a high class are good, which makes sense. It's kind of like Romans, right? Like I'm sure most of the peasant Romans sucked at combat, but the soldiers were amazing, and but only like maybe like the really good soldiers. I don't know. Do you kind of follow that logic, Davan, on that one? Does that kind of make sense with I think they're not that great.
Yeah, well, there's also a lot of ways to get a Klingon ship. Like, it's not like the Starfleet where you have to go through the ranks. You can just, your family may have ships, or You can kill your superior officer. There's a lot of ways to lead a Klingon ship. So it's not necessarily the upper echelon or cream of the crop at the top of these.
Oh,
This is a ship full of Alexanders.
well, yes, and
but certainly it's also very likely, at least from what we see of Cardassian and Federation culture, or at least Starfleet, most Klingons probably aren't as well trained in combat as your average Starfleet officer or Cardassian soldier. Certainly not Cardassian soldiers. They're very well trained. Maybe they're overhyped Klingons. They're just aggressive, and they have cool looking weapons.
Well, okay, right.
Klingons, brah, man, let's get some glory.
Klingon blood runs.
But a
as
skilled
red as
Klingon
green
is
as
very formidable.
Yes.
Well, right after they take the Klingon ship, Ducat's going on, about how magical it was and what a great plan Kira came up with and all that. And she's like, it's nothing magical. I just knew the transporter codes and all this kind of stuff. And then that kind of turns, like he's like, I was giving you a compliment. And then he turns it around basically and goes, you're the terrorist. Like all of a sudden, like the language and the vernacular changes from Ducat towards Kira. And I think, a lot of Ducat is just a lot about ego and id and like all that kind of stuff. I don't know where
he chooses to kill the Klingons, right? Because he goes, he beams them over. They beam them over to their ship, and then he destroys his own ship.
Yes.
Here, and she kind of goes, "Is that necessary?" And he goes, "You tell me. You're the terrorist." And I don't know. I couldn't tell if she approved or not or disapproved. Really, like where she obviously wasn't that beat up about it too much, really, because since all those Bajorans did die as well.
Yeah, see, this is kind of where I kind of disagree with Kira. See, this is where I don't agree with like this. She's a good, righteous person all the time, because sometimes I think she is willing to do really fucked up things in the name of vengeance. And that is very clearly shown in the show multiple times where if the ends justify the means, she has a lot of Machiavellian tendencies, and I think Ducat calls her out here a little bit, as a psychopath would to somebody that is deluded. I think Jaemeel, does that track for you?
It tracks absolutely. It tracks absolutely. He does not fully understand her thoughts about killing, and can't technically rationalize it with the way that he approaches it, right? She did it to survive, right? Because she wanted to last another day. She had to, right? There was no and ifs or buts, right? He's doing it because
it's a full-time job.
He's like lunch pail time, right? Absolutely, it's his like the conquest. Like for the way he talks, he would be a perfect Klingon. The way that he boasts about glory and how magnificent he is, right? It's kind of funny, his thought process.
Well, he does say a little speech in this episode where he says, "The little we have left, I'm not afraid to go get it." And Kira says, "You sound like a Klingon," and like she says that exact thing kind of to him. And he goes, "I'm the only Cardassian left that's willing to stand against the Klingons." As Davan has pointed out, that it's kind of like his life mission to make Cardassia strong and strong enough to not be subservient to the Klingons and the Federation. Whereas, it's ironic that he's telling this to Kira, who the Bajorans were that way toward the Cardassians. So it's kind of the chicken calling the egg,
Doesn't it sound exactly what we were just hearing during the Sword of Kahless episode?
Yeah, it does.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah, well, okay, so this is a great comment here from Jeremy. He says, Ducat is one of those people that thinks the universe owes them something, and Kira can be a remorseless, stone-cold killer. I think there's truth in that statement, Jeremy. I also think that Kira can sometimes... she doesn't care sometimes about, like, the value of the life, especially if those, everyone on that ship is guilty in her mind. A lot of times she throws guilt around to everybody that was involved in the Cardassian occupation, and some of those people are absolutely at fault. But it's kind of like what we argue, like, in wars, is every soldier that put on a Nazi uniform as evil?
Great
as
Kira clips here, like when she said,
None of us liked killing. We were fighting for our freedom.
Yeah, and then she also
Full time.
For 50 years, you raped our planet and you killed our people. You lived on our land and you took the food out of our mouths, and I don't care whether you held a phaser in your hand or you ironed shirts for a living. You were all guilty and you were all legitimate targets.
Iron shirts.
This is the type of stuff where it's not, I don't think like she pretends to be righteous, but I feel like this is not righteous at all. I to act like, if you're occupied and you think it's okay to just go kill whoever because iron shirts, go kill a baker because you're helping out this occupied force. I don't really agree with that. I don't think that's where you should put your focus. But I understand the anger. I understand where she's coming from.
But that statement comes back too.
It wasn't your world.
Wasn't her. If it's not your world, you get the hell off, or she's gonna blow you up.
So she's trying to make Bajor great again.
Mm-hmm.
15 million Bajorans died during the occupation.
A lot of this stuff with the Cardassians and the Bajorans, I see a lot of parallels to like Israel and Palestine, and it's just sometimes it just kind of there's no right answer, with a lot of these arguments. They're tough things to talk about, and you can look at it from even the most evil Dukat perspective, or like the most deluded, deranged, angry, emotional kind of perspective that Kira kind of brings it from. I when she says she doesn't like killing, whenever there's an episode where there's like her old buddies that were in the resistance with her, they often talk about like, remember when we did that? Remember when we blew up that ship or whatever? They seem to enjoy it. I don't know, Dave. Do you think that's kind of that tracks a little bit, or is it? I don't know. I don't necessarily buy what Kira's saying, what she's selling when she says that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they had to be for the cause. I think that what you're struggling with is Kira and are all these was there like the resistance, the Bajoran resistance, completely morally right? And maybe not. Maybe they had to do some not so moral things that it's a bit more of shades of gray. It's one of the things Deep Space Nine did the best of Star Trek, but in this time, especially in the 1990s, with how TV is supposed to work, and Dukat's a bad guy and she's a good guy, so therefore she's always going to be right at the end of the day, is part of the issue here. Is because, I think that they do some sort of questionable things, Shakar and the rest of them, right? But on the other hand, their people don't seem to condemn them for it. They see them as heroes, and it seems like the Starfleet characters largely agree that what the Bajoran resistance had to do to earn back their freedom was justified. But
they don't like the Maquis.
No, but
they really hate the Maquis.
Maquis personal for them.
Right. Well, but that's exactly the point, Dave, that once it's personal, then the emotions kind of overtake any cloud of judgment. Like, the Federation could come in as this third party and go, we agree with the Bajorans. That was their land, like that was their planet. Get out of here, Cardassian.
On the other hand, it's not like the Federation invaded Bajor and won them back their freedom or liberated them. They didn't. The Federation kind of let this go on for 50 years too. Right. And so it wasn't as simple as, well, the good guys are going to come in and save the day. It was obviously more complicated than that. I think it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed, but
we do have a policy of non-interference as well, right?
Right.
And Bajor is not a member planet.
Yeah.
True. Not yet. Not if Shakar has anything to say about it.
Jeremy says here, your youth is your youth. No matter how bad it is, you look back on it with some fondness. I can understand the sentimentality of kind of what I was saying before about Kira and all her old terrorist buddies, I guess you could say. Resistance is the word that's often used too here. I guess it's all perspective of what word you use. If you're Cardassian, you're going to use the terrorist word. If you're the Federation side of things, you're going to use resistance. You know,
they also won, so there would be some pride in that as well.
Yes,
that they would reminisce about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But do you agree,
They
Jeff?
draw hard lines, and that's what she's trying to explain there, and she tries to explain to Dukat later when they don't want to attack a base that Cardassians are guarding and stuff. She's just like, no, they're all collaborators. If they're in there, they're all collaborators, and those are the hard lines that she draws in her draw. So they don't feel bad about likely, too much guilt about killing Bajorans in certain situations that they had to do because they were collaborators.
If that's how she feels, that's how she felt then she shouldn't have a problem with Dukat blowing up his ship full of Klingons because they're collaborators. They destroyed an outpost. They're part of the Klingon. They're out there doing that. They shouldn't have a problem. She shouldn't have a problem. And Dukat did the right thing. He allowed those Klingons to die in glorious battle instead of flounder in dishonor and defeat.
Woof.
That's 100% true. That's a good point.
They all went to Stovokor.
He's a hero, really. He's basically a Klingon hero, Golden Cup.
Yeah,
yes, he is.
And Dukat would have loved that. He would have been like, "I'm a hero. Yeah, I'm a hero."
Statue in the Hall of Heroes, right next to Kang.
That would be my greatest honor, sir.
That would be my greatest honor, sir. Besides dying in battle, that would be my greatest honor.
So great.
Yeah, you're right. You did the right thing.
They had a greatest honors then.
You've won me over. Everyone can agree. Everyone can feel good about themselves. The people who died, everybody. Everyone won.
It's really just a feel-good story.
Yeah, it is.
This is a beautiful episode.
I mean, really, it's like the Shawshank Redemption of Star Trek. I mean, it really is.
I think we've uncovered some truths here.
Yeah, I think we figured out what this is. A hidden gem. That's what they should have called this episode. Anything else?
We need to take this information to the Datapa Council themselves.
Zial here will stay on the station, and Odo approves. He's chief of security, so he's always on.
I thought he was putting some distance between him and Kira.
He'll still do anything for her, though.
Yeah, and you know how often they it seems like they end episodes on the top level of the promenade a lot.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
and this is another example. It's a nice view. Yeah, and they're always staying out the window at a green screen, but it's always nice.
When they switch Zials, can we refer to this Zial as Prial?
Prial.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this.
And it won't be confusing. It won't be as confusing.
She's an okay Zial, but I don't know. We'll see how we compare the Zial offs later. But Jeff, on this upper level,
yes,
on the upper level of the promenade, you and I've learned from playing Star Trek Online and visiting Deep Space Nine. There's nothing going on that upper level. That upper level is just windows. There's no stores up there. There's nothing exciting. There's a second level of quarks you can get into from there, but beyond that, you would never want to be on the second level. You would want to be
use it to have a good view of the bottom level.
That's the only thing it's good for.
Dangling your feet.
There's more going on at the second.
Moving for more than you stop moving for more than 15 seconds on the upper level, you're called loitering, and Odo makes you move.
Yeah, Odo's going to chase you off. That second level, there's more going on the Mapleview Mall second level than there is.
I think there's a couple chairs. Here you can see here at the end of this episode. I'll show you guys. See, you got a couple.
That's
chairs.
quarks. That's second level of quarks. I already mentioned that. Beyond the second level of quarks, there are no other chairs.
You got some nice artwork. Look at the fishies.
You can see those on the bottom.
You can't truly appreciate them from the lower level.
The lower
I say-
decks.
The lower
Vacuums
deck.
the carpet.
Yeah, if you got to vacuum the carpet, there's some nice views of yeah, it's good for hanging. Yeah,
Good for hanging.
yeah, Jaco,
You
and
can
him,
hang
him
your
and
legs over. You can hang yourself. That happens a
You
couple
can-
times.
you can jump
Only
off of it.
Vedics. Only Vedics like to use it for hanging. Good hanging there.
Yeah.
You can knock a Klingon over it, and he can die in a glorious fall. I
If
think
you're Keiko and you're possessed by a paw wraith, you can do a swan dive off the edge.
There's things-
miles.
there are things to be done on the upper level. That's
Yeah.
the point. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's pretty much the episode here, guys.
Double F us, Jeff.
Oh God, I didn't even get ready. I'm sorry, guys. You're gonna talk amongst yourselves, banter. Davan, you always got something to say.
I was
No, nothing.
just demoted. Somebody from the Central Command must be watching.
He's in Glenn now. Uh-oh. I got a detail discovered by Dave.
I don't think I should say anything more, quite frankly.
Jeff, the American online newspaper known as the AV Club called praised Marco Limo in this episode for his ability to make Dukat charismatic, slimy, and yet weirdly sympathetic, which has helped make the character one of the best villains in Trek history.
Yeah, no, he definitely like straddles the line where you like him, but he's awful.
Yeah.
That's very difficult to do. Like, that's not an easy task. Like,
He has no redeeming characteristics at all, but you like him anyway.
but you like him and you want to watch more of him. You know, like, and you're not like you don't really hate him. You're kind of like, all right, just I'm along for the ride. I'm watching you. You're awful, but I'm watching you. You know. Okay. Okay. So Tom Benko, the editor, writer, director, and production manager for this episode, his original idea for this episode came from the question of what might have happened if the Jews and the Nazis were forced to work together after World War II. See, I was kind of thinking about this during this episode. I was like, when you mentioned Davan, that they're both good military strategic people, I was like, well, yeah, what if Hitler and FDR were in a room and they had to solve something together? It's kind of what this was like to me. It was like, I don't know, just strange bedfellows, I guess you could say. All right. Human characters receive only about 2 minutes of screen time. All of the characters in the rest of this episode are from alien races. Again, another thing Deep Space Nine did way better than any of the other shows.
Diversity.
POCs got their due. This is the second and final appearance of Sia Batten, who played Ziel here in this episode. She also her next appearance is in For the Cause. That'll be the next time she plays.
Wait,
But
what's the middle Zial going to be called?
she I don't know. That's for Davan to come
One
up
and
with.
done.
One and done. She is played. The next episode, she is played by Tracy Middendorf. In all subsequent appearances, Melanie Smith embodies the role. Ms. Batten, like many other performers, can be seen in other Star Trek series, Enterprise and Voyager, as other species.
Middle
She was also
Zeal was
written-
also in the Quickening episode. She's the.
Is that her?
pregnant lady.
Same one.
Mm.
Yeah. All the when we get in all three Zials, we can look back and go, who was the most Zial of them all?
A, B, or Z.
Yeah.
The comparison between the Cardassian phaser rifle and the Federation phaser rifle would be very similar to the comparison between the Soviet era AK-47 and the American M16. The Soviet weapon was simpler and could handle rough treatment, whereas the American weapon was more complex.
I liked this scene. I thought it was good because it was like kind of throwing some shade at the Federation technology, saying like, yeah, like, oh, it can do all these things, but then it can make your coffee or whatever. But then, when it comes down to it, Kira's like, in a firefight, you just want something that works. And just, you pull it, it fires. And
You want an AK, yeah.
Similar to her, she's like, you know what the best way to get out of a knife fight, Zial? Don't get in one.
It'd be awesome if Lower Decks did the every time they went to do a phaser rifle, it was broken or it didn't work.
There's malfunctions. Something goes wrong with it.
Lower Decks has such a great long runway of endless jokes. They could be on like The Simpsons for 30 years. Okay. The model of Dukat ship, the Grumal, was designed by production artist John Eves, who had just joined the staff of DS9. His initial design drew inspiration from the Cardassian warships previously seen on the series. The production felt it looked too militaristic. I think it looks just like a ribbed dildo. I don't know.
It looks more impressive than the Bajoran ship, though. That Shakar showed up on last week. Those Bajoran ships are weak sauce, man. At least these Cardassian ships, even one as crappy as the Gramal, looks more impressive.
The producers felt it looked too militaristic and asked him to come up with something more freightier. His new design was based on an oil tanker with a raised bridge at the rear of the ship. The model was later modified to portray a Klingon ship in Sons and Daughters. Eves went on to have a long and successful career with the Star Trek franchise. Dave designing a number of ships, including the Enterprise E.
Oh, from this?
Yeah, you went from this to the Enterprise E.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because Enterprise E is so uninspired. So.
Dave's not a fan of
You don't like the racing stripes?
No, the Enterprise E is a bad ship. Bad ship.
No, I was specifically talking about the racing stripes.
Casey Biggs, who plays Damar, is a member of the Enterprise Blues Band, which writes and performs songs about Star Trek. The other members are Vaughn Armstrong, Richard Hurd, Steve Rankin, William Jones, and Ronald B. Moore. Not Ronald D. Moore.
D. Moore. You gotta get the B.
Yeah, this is a B. Moore. Biggs plays the rhythm guitar and sings some of the backup vocals, which I do think he plays some music at some point when they go.
Well, you
back
see him like
time.
in the documentary, in the What We Left Behind documentary. He's like in that barbershop quartet with Armin Shimmerman and Max Grodinchek and whatever. Yeah, so
that was probably his idea.
And he, like I mentioned, he was married to B'Elanna Torres for a while.
Dave, we have a 47 reference. 47.
47. If you know how numbers work, here we go.
When Dukat asked Damar how long it took to destroy the asteroid during the battle drill, Damar says 347. Later, when Kira shows the disruptor to Zial, she mentions that it has an output rating of 4.7 megajoules.
But 4.7 is not the same as 47.
It's pretty close.
Pretty close.
If you know how numbers work.
It's numerology, Dave. You know, it all deducts to 47. Deduces, sorry. Gul Dukat attempts to convince Kira to teach him and his crew to wage a guerrilla war against the Klingons based on her previous experience as a resistance fighter during the occupation. Ironically, Kira does wind up teaching Cardassians to be terrorists when she helps Damar in his rebellion against the Dominion during season 7.
I'm Kira Nerys, and this is my masterclass.
She made a lot of money. She made a lot of latinum teaching that.
Some people say blowing up a freighter filled with a bunch of Klingons that may or may not have been guilty is bad. I say, oh well.
I think Ashley already determined that he was doing them a favor.
Yeah.
Right.
And we all agreed.
The hero of this story, guys.
She's like, I just say what the prophets say.
Glory.
Glory awaits you.
During a scene in the
greatest glory.
During a scene in the teaser with Kira and Dukat before they leave the station, Dukat says, quote, "Everything I lost, I will regain. It's only a matter of time." This manifests in season 5 when Cardassia officially joins the Dominion, which in turn gives Dukat back the things he lost: power, command, Cardassia, etc. Okay.
I think I even have that somewhere.
All that we have lost will be ours again, and anyone who stands in our way will be destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was built by Bajoran slave labor.
Funny. Okay, Dukat's action in the episode mirror those of Kirk in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. You guys were right. In Kirk's case, however, he would be commanding the Federation starship USS Enterprise on what would be his last mission in that movie. Both, however, do confront a Klingon bird of prey in a vessel that cannot fight it directly. In both cases, the Klingon crew is beamed over to the other ship. Dukat, also like Kirk, destroys his own ship and commandeers the bird of prey.
Good job.
It's a lot of parallels.
But it's really Kira's plan, isn't it?
That it is.
But she's
Everything. Kira, they don't really work as a team in this episode. Kira tells him what to do, and he does it.
He says yes.
Of course,
Yeah.
Kira's plan. She found out about Kirk in the mirror universe, and then when she got back to our universe, she started to study Kirk and went, "Hey, that's a cool maneuver. I'm going to remember that because
The
one
Kirk
day
maneuver.
I might need it."
Well, thing about Kira is she is insightful as she is intriguing.
Okay, and that is it for Double F, Dave. Let's get to the ratings.
All right, let's bring her up. Where is it? Right here. Okay, and bring that into the stream. Okay, and so Jeff, we didn't get your rating last week for Crossfire. Do you know what you want to give that yet?
Yeah, 2.5.
I said you'd be on my side, Jeff. Oh no, I was wrong.
No.
You're the well, not the lowest. Jaemeel and Ashley were those. Okay, that brought the rating down for Crossfire to 3.6. Okay, do you like Return to Grace better, Jeff?
Yeah, this episode's good. I'll give this one 7.5. I would say is good, fair.
7.5. I think that's about fair. I think that's about what it deserves. About a 7.5.
I'm going to give it a 7.2.
Okay, Ashley?
I'm going to give it an 8.
That's 8. Okay, and Kevin?
8.5.
And Davan?
9. He's doing the math. Carry the 2.
What did I give Crossfire?
You gave Crossfire a 7. A surprise.
Oh, then I'll give this one a 6.9.
Oh, one less.
Wow.
He likes Crossfire better, and he's sticking to it.
7.6 is the average. Yeah, so a rare 7 here in season 4. Only rejoined coming up here. So that, and then a 7.8 on IMDb. So a bit of a, close to sort of the average. And the other particulars. Jeff, next week, return. It's Sons of Moog.
Another Worf episode, right?
Worf.
But more than that, we get Tony Todd himself.
That's current. I don't like soft shit.
Yeah.
Because that's you. You're the Rocket Man.
You're the Rocket
I want
Man.
my fucking money!
What the
Tony Todd.
fuck does that have to do with you?
Jake Sisko returns.
Jake Sisko in the same season where he just absolutely killed it. Deserves all the praise for that.
Comes back to play a completely different character. What is this? 10 episodes later?
So we're on uniform.
Yeah, he's wearing
He's even going to wear a Bajoran uniform. It's one of my favorite uses of the uniform.
What happened to Worf?
Where's this thing?
I did not play with toys.
Those were insulted.
Perfect.
All right. Well, that does the ratings, Jeff. So
Sorry.
you can take us away. Oh,
Okay,
here.
well-
We got another request for a Kern quote, and how can I turn them down here? Like, as I scroll up to my K's. Kern. Here it is.
How long has this bird been dead? It appears to have been lying in the sun for quite some time. I shall try some of your burned, replicated bird meat.
Tony Todd's so great. How did that guy not get him more shit? He's
He's
awesome.
the best, man.
He's Zoom, man. He's the Candy Man. He's been all kinds of things.
Yeah, he was Candyman. Yeah,
Yeah. He's the Rocket Man.
He's the Rocket
Rocket
Man.
Man.
Doesn't like soft shit.
Yeah. Tony Todd not as celebrated as much as he should be, for sure.
Yeah, he should be way up there. Okay, so I think that's it. Dave, what do we have to plug?
Come back in just over an hour. We're going to be talking about Star Trek, the original series here on Live Long and Podcast, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern with our dad, Ted Mater, and Adam Woodward. And I think that's going to be it. I think Jody's phoning in his rating. We're going to be talking about Is There in Truth No Beauty? With Diana Muldaur, Jeff, the one who played Pulaski in the second season of Next Generation. Well, she was in a couple original series episodes first, and this is one of them we're talking about tonight.
All of them bitches.
Yeah. And then also check out later this week on Thursday here on Live Long and Podcast, we'll be talking about Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2 and a deep dive podcast. Talk about the whole season as a whole. We got Kevin coming in for that one. Jody's coming in for that one. I think I don't think you and Ashley can make it, but I think Davan and Jaemeel are going to be joining us for that. So anybody else who's free around 8 p.m. on Thursday can jump in and talk about Star Trek Lower Decks with us, talk about that second season. And then also check out our other channel, including Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, where we're going to be, we're talking about Survivor right now, Survivor Season 41, many times a week, Wednesdays at 9:30, following the episodes that air there, going into episode 5, I think, for this week. And our third channel, Trivial Debates, where we talk about movies, TV, sports, and more in a monthly game show format. That's going to be falling on Halloween. I haven't set the host or the contestants yet, but I will be. So watch out for that on probably the morning of October 31st, which is coming up in just under 2 weeks. What else did I forget? Oh, and Jeff, in a week here on Live Long and Podcast, starting next Thursday, Davan and Jessica Chan and I, we're going to be talking about Star Trek Prodigy, the new animated Star Trek show on Nickelodeon, as that will start to air next Thursday.
Sounds great. Is that it?
That's it.
Thankfully, this show has wonderful guests, including one on loan from the amazing show called
Locutors of Trek.
Trek. I was on it last night.
There you go.
Yep, it's true. Big winner.
I won the trivia.
The trouble with trivia is that Scott's the host. I don't know if you realize that. The name comes from.
Gotta make the questions harder.
Yeah, I told you he was.
He said he thought he thought he did it too hard. I said, nah, pick it up.
Not for Dave. Oh my God.
Next time, we'll be in trouble.
We have played. Ashley, the Millards know this. We have broken out the Star Trek trivia, and it's just a Dave show-off fest when it happens. That's all it is. He knows the turbo lift that Picard took in episode 15, season 3.
I don't know about that one, but I know a lot of the things. I pay attention. I watch a lot of Star Trek almost for a living, so I'm going to pick some things up.
How many times has Kirk been shirtless in the original series?
Oh, infinite.
At least 47.
At least, if not 48.
I bet you it's under 40. I bet you
it is under 40.
Reference.
Yeah, it's under 40.
Maximum amount of times allowed under that rating.
How many times do you think we saw his belly button? Very few times.
His pants were always
check out our Garrick episode coming up in a day or two. It's gonna be
check out Locutors of Trek.
Preview here tonight.
That'd be great. Garrick is a fascinating case study, and I think that'd be a good listen for anybody that's into Star Trek, and mainly you, Jeremy, who is still listening. I don't know how.
Game
Do I have to? No, it's Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know why Dad's playing social. He must be, eh?
He dad's playing tonight, yeah. So we're playing after his curling game.
Yeah. Okay.
And last but not least,
check out Eamon's podcast. Let's talk about fighting games, where you can find on Spotify or wherever you get your audio podcasts.
There you go.
Okay, well, thank you for all of us here at Tuesdays 9 at 9ish. For Dave Mater, Jaemeel Robinson, the Bajoran workers, Kevin and Ashley Millard, and the locutor of Trek himself, Davan Skelhorn, we say, keep it real here. And we also say, whoa! Glory to you.
Where is it?
Glory awaits you on Mount Asia.